sports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports as ordered, and those sounds are brought to you by the one and only world-renowned, world-famous. He is Mr. Logical. And then, of course, I'm your unorthodox statistician, 2-5. We got picks, and more picks. It's that time of the week. So let's take it right from the top. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things, liquid death in hand. And let's pick some games. So, Mr. Logical, guess what?
All the must-win games this weekend.
Yes, the Chiefs. Oh, my goodness. Every time I turn around, I feel like the Chiefs are having some kind of must-win game. You know, here we are again, no different. And this time, it's a little bit different because, you know, earlier in the season, you know, we had all this stuff, you know, hey, are they or Baltimore, you know, going to miss the playoff? Then it was, you know, can they bounce back against Philly? It was so they've been in the middle of the fire this whole season. But this time it's a little bit different because Jacksonville has the tiebreaker on them. You know, Buffalo has the tiebreaker on them. You know, they already lost to the Chargers, so the Chargers have the tiebreaker on them. And now they going into Mile High Stadium. Can they dig into the closet again and put on that Superman cape one more time?
Well, they're going to have to. You mentioned the Chargers, Buffalo, Jacksonville. Those teams will likely lose 1 or 2 random games throughout the rest of the season. We saw Buffalo lose, throughout the season. We've seen Buffalo lose to Atlanta and Miami. So I don't think they're going to pull away from the Chiefs. But the Chiefs can't play even money with them because they're already behind the 8 ball. So they can't leave this game 5-5. They got to leave 6-4, whatever they got to do. If they got to go out there and play them the way the Jets played them and hopefully pull it out, you know what I mean, 10-7 like Green Bay and Philly this week, maybe they have to take Mahomes out of Mahomes. Like, listen, man. We checking it down. We putting all 3 backs in. We running touch passes with Xavier Worthy, Rashid Rice, and just get them in the space because you don't want to. We talked about this. We use an example of the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl when they won 13-3. Tom Brady normally lights it up from the second quarter through the fourth quarter of the Super Bowls. He's always had a slow first quarter. That particular game, they didn't throw any balls in the harm's way. It was just, if we got to punt it, we punt it. We pin them deep. We play good defense. And they held a team that was averaging 30 points a year to 3 points. Kansas City might have to just understand the defense is better, even though your offense is loaded. And play to that. Like, listen, we can't give them opportunities. We saw with the Giants. They had them dead to rights until they threw that pick. They were up 10 when they threw the pick. That shouldn't cost you a game. But the Denver's defense caught the momentum off that interception, end up winning the game. You know, we saw a lot of stuff played out after a lot of stuff transpired. But that piece, you punt the ball back to them deep. They're down 10, 2 possessions. They got to march the field. But if you allow the defense to make a play, give them a short field. Bo Nix has been having a rough go over the last few weeks. So if he gets the ball at the 34 off of a tip pass, I think he'll just try to run it in from there. Like, you know what? I've had a bad week, a bad few weeks. Let me just go make plays. And I think that's what Kansas City gets hurt. Guys who throw the ball, but make plays outside the pocket. I think you just don't want to give them any momentum.
So I've been saying this name all season, and I want to see this guy get some work this weekend. Brashard Smith. You know what I'm saying? It's either going to be a Brashard Smith breakout game. We're going to see vintage Travis Kelce, or Rashee Rice is going to come out of the backfield because Denver's going to spend a lot of time playing dime. And, they don't have Surtain. And over the last week or so, Jahdae Barron's been getting picked on. So Mahomes has the necessary weapon/game plan to get this done. Of course, Andy Reid is 22-4 off the bye week, so that matters. They've had time to stew on this game plan for Denver and be ready for this game on Sunday. Now, with that being said, you know what I'm saying? Hey, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Kathy Magiana, what's up? Kansas City, their defense is going to be the key here. Because can Cook keep Cortland Sutton in check? Who can wrap up Marvin Mims in space? Those are going to be the things. J.K. Dobbins is out this weekend. So Denver is already a team that struggles to run the ball as is. So now you're putting it all on the rookie, R.J. Harvey, who I like, but this is a big moment for him. So I think that Denver's defense is good enough to keep Kansas City under 20. And that's going to be the key. Can they keep them under 20? Can they pressure Mahomes? Because we saw in the Buffalo game,
Looked like the Super Bowl that they
lost.
Lost.
They brought the heat, and Mahomes, for some reason, he didn't take the short stuff. And he made this comment about how our record was better last year, but we're having more fun this year. Well, I got news for you, Pat. If you lose this game this weekend, the fun is going to cease.
I mean, listen, I'm not saying the world's going to collapse if they don't make the playoffs. The thing about the Denver record, it's pretty much undefeated. I think he has maybe one loss, if that, to Denver. It's I know it's less than 3 because he only had 3 to the division the first 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
His first win came against Denver as a rookie. I think if they look at the Bo Nix film from the last few weeks and they come up with a plan that matches that, they'll be fine. Kansas City doesn't really rush the passer well. They have great guys up front. Chris Jones gets after the quarterback, but he's often double teamed in those moments where it's all right, it's 3rd and 8. Because just no fault of his own, just because they know he's there, he doesn't really wreck 3rd down. From the inside, it's just easier to double team him. You normally need a guy off the edge. They do a great job of disguising their blitzes off the edge. So I think if they can get to him, like McDuffie coming off the edge, because he got to Josh Allen a couple of times in their last game that they played. And almost, Thornton was really close to catching that pass, that Hail Mary attempt to the end zone. And I think the guy said Cole from, University of Utah got his hands on it. But they were very close because they started just kind of collapsing the pocket and just coming with strange blitzes. If Denver can run the ball, then I think Spags would have to just naturally, you have to pull back on the pass blitzing if the team is running the ball well. But if you get in a situation where they're not running the ball well and it's a lot of 3rd and 7s, a lot of 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s, that's when you can see just the pocket collapsing and Kansas City getting the ball, short fields, special teams opportunities. But yeah, if Denver can stay on the field, they'll be fine. I just have a feeling that they won't be able to, especially if they're not running the ball with J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, and like I said, him being out is going to be a big deal. So I'm going to take Kansas City, low scoring, call it 20-17. I think Bo Nix is just going to make a bad play late that ices the game, for Kansas City. So then the defending champs coming off that Monday night, bar burner that you were talking about, that slobber knocker, saying now they got the other big team from the NFC North coming in, the Detroit Lions. We'll see if Dan Campbell is still calling plays or not. AJ Brown's out here on these Twitch streams talking about, if I'm on your fantasy team, drop me. So with that being said,
he didn't even say drop me. He said get rid of me.
They said get rid of me. So
that's
now
a different word choice. That feels like a personal.
Yeah, and so one of our guys, Lethal, he made the comment. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. He was asking if this is turning into T.O. and McNabb.
No, it's not that bad because T.O. went after the quarterback. A.J. Brown is going after the process. And I was having this conversation with some guys at work. I live in Jersey, a lot of Eagles fans. You come here Eagles fan, or you just gravitate towards because we're in the southern part of Jersey. You just become an Eagles fan because you're in Philly all the time. And they were saying A.J. Brown just needs to stop bitching and complaining. I'm like, I get it. I personally don't go about just kind of airing out how I feel in public. But in the same sense, these reporters go to players with questions and expect an honest answer. And they normally get a Belichick Saban kind of answer unless Saban's really riled up. But now you got a guy giving you a real answer. Expect it. We all want to hear the inner workings, what's going on with the team. We always want to know what's going on. So him saying hey, I think the offense is stagnant and I should be getting the ball more. That's not crazy. It's he's out there blocking every run play, or he's running deep routes or running routes every pass play. That's a lot of cardio, knowing that the game plan does not have you getting the ball. There's no way any team, I don't care the status of your quarterback, I don't care the health of your quarterback, whoever the quarterback is, whoever the offensive coordinator are, they need to be game planning. How in our first 5 to 10 passes do we incorporate every passing weapon that we have on the team? You shouldn't have the first 15 plays scripted, have guys like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown not targeted 3 to 4 times each. Because that's you figure you go 3 to A.J., 3 with Devontae is the number 1 read. You can still get your 4 handoffs to Saquon Barkley. You can still get your design quarterback run for Jalen Hurts and a couple passes to the tight end. And that's your first 15 plays scripted out. Your game plan can start with those guys getting the ball in their hand, getting active, especially if you do smoke routes. It's a simple route. You bring A.J. Brown inside a little bit. Maybe they sag off, get it right to him right there in the slot. Maybe he runs for 6 or 7 yards, but he runs, like I said before, he runs into the guy guarding him. That's 6'3", 225, 230 pounds. That corner's not going to be tackling him all day. But if he's out there just running with them, yeah, I can do that.
And speaking of that, Detroit, Terrion Arnold, is in the concussion protocol, so I'm not expecting him to go, but we'll see. Kirby Joseph has been out, and he might be out again with that knee issue. So, I think that Detroit could be in trouble in this game if Philly decides to go that route. You know what I mean? And Goddard can get some work. And also, I just found out a little bit ago, on the offensive side, they're not going to have Sam Laporta. So this game simply may just come down to who's better on 4th down. Because they're
going to go for it.
They're going to go for it. So it's hard to handicap this game because, Detroit can do the things that Green Bay decided not to do for some reason. The whole time I was watching Monday Night Football, I was like, hey, why is Green Bay not throwing the ball into the slot? You know what I mean? They kept challenging Quinyon Mitchell. It was
throw it at Adoree Jackson.
Throw it at Adoree Jackson.
Throw it at Adoree Jackson.
Why not? You know what I mean? So I expect to see a lot of slants, maybe some curl routes to try to turn and get upfield, get a missed tackle, and break off some big plays. So I like Detroit, but I got to go with Philly since they're at home.
They were looking up tickets at work. That's why the conversation started. Tickets are like $500. And I was like, that's what happens when your team is good. Because I looked up Atlanta to Carolina prices. Those tickets are $100.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I can fly down here, fly from here to Atlanta, round trip, get a ticket for $300. And you guys are out here spending $550 a piece to sit deep it's in the lower bowl. But it's like row 37 in the lower bowl.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when your team is good. I want to pick Philly, but I think the chemistry is going to take a loss for them to have to regroup. Because Jalen Hurts after the last game was like, and they were saying it during the broadcast, when they were up 3-0, they was like, if they win this game 3-0, Jalen Hurts would be a happy man at the press conference. So I think you need a loss in order to make some changes.
Wake up.
And Detroit's on it offensively, so I think they're not going to slow down. So I figured they jump on Philly, aggressively, and they pull that game out. High scoring,
okay,
but it's going to be they're gonna come out there first and say, listen, look at all our speed, look at our size, look at our scheme. Watch how we deploy all of it in our first 15. Their first 15 plays are going to look way different than Philly's first 15.
Okay. So, last season, the Minnesota Vikings went 14-3. They lost to the Lions twice. And then, of course, there was the Thursday night football game against the Rams with the face mask that wasn't called. They got to the playoffs, and the Rams were all over Sam Darnold. So, Mr. Logical, Sam Darnold is returning to the scene of the crime out in SoFi. He's got a new squad with him. Can Seattle go into LA and take control of the NFC West?
40-40 tie.
Oh.
I'm joking. It would be fitting if that happened. Stafford's just playing out of his mind. The Rams defensive line, they seem to find players who do exactly what every team needs young players to do, and they find them every single year. Like, listen, we drafted you because in college you really got after the quarterback. So just do that here in this color uniform. No problem. Hey, we drafted you because you can really stop the run. Along with a good pass rusher. Cool. We got one next to you. Can you stop the run? Got it. Yeah, we got you because you can play good defense. Like everybody they drafted seems to do whatever they want, and they make a trade. It's the same thing. Devontae Adams, we got you here to make big plays, make Matthew Stafford look good, and he'll make you look good. Got it. It's just everything that they do seems to be hitting on something. And I tried to disregard them 2 years ago. We remember, I had him at 4-13. I thought Stafford was done. I thought McVay was done. That let me know that I just talk shit on this microphone. Because I've been dead wrong. So I'm not gonna do it again. I'm not gonna pick against the Rams again. And SoFi, I know normally SoFi it feels like a road game. I think people treat it like Vegas, where you just book a trip to LA and you throw in the football game on that Sunday and fly back. So that's why it looks like there's always more fans than the Rams fans. I think people just treat it like a tourist location. But I think there's enough Ram fans in the audience that will cheer on their team to victory.
So, I was up in the lab today. Said I was getting my Mr. Logical on. I was playing some NCAA 26, Oh,
I thought you were saying cussing out your coworkers.
No. And I was trying out this cover 9 defense. So then, I got up on them internets. So I got up on YouTube, and I go, So what Seattle does is the inverse of this. They run a cover 6. And so as I was thinking about that, I was like, hey, the cover 6 works really well when you're playing against young quarterbacks. When you go and look at Seattle's schedule and the teams that they've been beaten up on, I was like, But I was like, but you got Matthew Stafford out there, the vet. And not only Matthew Stafford, but you got the weapons. You know, like you got Devontae Adams, you got Puka. You know, they've been using the tight end a lot more lately. So I think that the Rams are just a bad matchup for Seattle. Just based off of that, Seattle's going to have to mix a lot of things and get out of their tendencies, I think, to win this game, which they can do because Mike McDonald is a defensive savant, if you will, no pun intended. So he could theoretically change that game plan, but I want to see how how they use him in this game. I think the Rams are going to win just because I feel that they got Sam Darnold figured out going back to the things that happened last year, you know, where they made him look a little pedestrian, especially that playoff game. Because as good as Jackson Smith and Jigba has been, you know, he had Justin Jefferson last year and they still couldn't figure it out. So, you know, so maybe you get Cooper Kupp some touches early, you know, against the former team, suck them in to get Jackson Smith down the field over the top, and you got Shaheed now. So I think that Seattle will keep it close. And I do think, even though you were kind of joking around, I do think it will be a little more high scoring than people might tend to think. Because I think a lot of people probably look at this game and say like a 23-20 type lens.
I think 31-28 or 34-28 isn't out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I was thinking 34-27. But I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think they just make one more play and Darnold just, you know, because he's been playing well lately. I mean, I think I saw.
I don't think he's gonna play poorly. I think it's just a matter of. I think Stafford's gonna play exceptional, and Darnold's going to play very good, but Rams are just going to make the extra play, the punt return.
Yeah, and all things being equal.
They're going to, the 4th and 1 stop on their side of the 50. I think they'll make that play, get Stafford the ball back. I don't think it's going to be like a game where it's like, oh, they just got Sam Darnold looking like, like a backup again. Yeah. I think it's just a matter of like they're two good teams. It's just that one person's jab is just going to be more effective than the other.
Yeah, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. And if this game was a little bit closer to the Palouse, obviously the Seahawks don't play in the Palouse, but if it was a little closer to the Palouse, I would probably pick Seattle. But, you know, I think I'm going to go with the Rams. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think the Rams got this, Munchie. You know what I'm saying? So then, of course, we got the rest.
What they should do like a little tribute to Cooper Kupp, get him out of his zone.
Nah, I don't know if that works or not. But Mr. Logical, here's a question for you. Who needs this game more? Tampa or Buffalo?
I think just for the sake of just basic math, Buffalo.
Okay.
Tampa's division, the 3 other teams in Tampa's division aren't built to compete with Tampa. So whatever record Tampa ends up with is going to be first place in the NFC South. Whatever it is. It could be 8-9. It could be 9-8. It could be 10-7. Whatever record Tampa Bay ends with, they'll be getting a home playoff game as the NFC South winner.
Yeah.
So I like Buffalo to win. I know they have a lot of respect for each other. You know, Josh and Baker been like in interviews throwing jabs at each other, saying like, you know, he needs a megaphone to talk to Josh Allen because he's 6'10". Right. And he's like Baker wears 2 gloves when he golfs. I mean, just little quips and stuff like that. So I think they have a lot of respect for each other. I just like Buffalo. I think Buffalo's in a more dire situation considering that the Patriots are 9-2. That's the world we live in now. Drake May's having like the best 11-game stretch of any quarterback in the history of the sport. It's crazy. Another guy I was like, I don't believe in. And I'm just not good at this. I'm good at talking shit. I sound good. My voice is nice. And I'm just going to ride with that. I might be wrong a lot. I mean, I'm willing to admit it because I'm like, I'm seeing my takes. I'm hearing my takes. I'm writing my notes down. It's being recorded in HD. And then Sunday comes around and the guy plays like a superstar. So New England 9-2, running away with the division. Buffalo needs it. at a minimum, just to not have that explosion and implosion, so to speak, at the end of the season. I think if their season kind of, I want to say bottoms out, because it's not the fault of the Buffalo coaching staff that New England got a good coach and they're having a good season. But I think if New England runs away with this division and then Buffalo's there fighting for 5th, 6th, or 7th, and we see all the teams that are kind of jumbled in there and injuries and player movement, you might end up in a situation where Buffalo's in that mix and the Steelers are in that mix. So it's a lot of teams kind of fighting for that 5 through 7 spot.
Yeah. So this
Buffalo
is
will blow. I think Buffalo blows their team up if they don't get 5, 6, or 7. I think they fire the coach. I think they make kind of unnecessary moves.
So I don't want to overreact. You know what I mean? But, Buffalo goes to Houston next Thursday. They go to Pittsburgh the week after that. They host Cincinnati. Then they go to New England. They close out the season in their next to last game is against Philly. So I don't want to overreact, right? But I think Buffalo needs this from a mental standpoint. They came into the season, everybody was smooching on them, telling them how great they were. This is the year you're going to get Kansas City. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. I'm sure I'm not the only one. You know what I mean? So they came into this season with fanfare and high expectation. Now, there comes a point where certain things have to happen to go in your favor, right? Because Kansas City, see, Munchie sounded like me out here. You know what I'm saying? So Buffalo, if they go into the playoff as a wild card, it's already a disappointing season. You know what I mean?
How though?
Because
they only gave one of New England their wins. Like New England has one win from Buffalo.
It doesn't matter because Buffalo doesn't play well on the road, for one, as Munchie said earlier, but also like Buffalo thrives off having you in Orchard Park, the lake effect and those type of things. If Buffalo's out here going out to Mile High, I think they're a better team than Denver overall. But you know what I mean?
If they are a wild card team, they lose that first playoff game, then yeah, you got me. But that's my point. Just being a wild card team,
that's my point.
I don't think that's a fireable offense.
I don't think that mentally Buffalo can be a wild card and make it to the Super Bowl. Like I don't think
they'll probably lose. I'm just saying, like if the season ends and they're 5th. And they are 10-7 or 11-6. They just happen to be 5th because New England is 13-4. I don't think that that looks poorly on the Bills, especially if they split. If they beat New England this next go around and they split the 2 games, okay.
I think
that's one thing. But if they lose both and they're 5th and they lose, and it's like, okay.
So I think
they're on the rise, and I think they'll make plays.
I think they win this game. Tampa's still banged up. Bucky Irvin's back at practice. We'll see if he can go. 42-degree weather is in Buffalo's favor with the Florida team coming up there. So, I think this game will be fine. But I'm not so convinced that they go into Houston next week and get that win with the way that they've been playing on the road. So that's why I say that if Buffalo, to your point, if Buffalo is 10-7, there's trouble up in Orchard Park. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to, like I said, you got to remember, Buffalo literally came into this season. At the start of this season, all the reports out of Vegas was Buffalo's favored in every game this year. You know what I mean?
But I think after they get this win, they're 7-3. I don't think the sky is falling. I think they will treat it as if the sky is falling.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I agree with you. Like me and you have gone back and forth about McDermott being the guy, and I stand on my basic plateau. My line of the saying is like, what are you going to get better from the head coaching position? Like they just probably need maybe the GM to make a better couple of wide receiver moves, maybe get some more threats on the outside. I don't think the coach is a problem. I don't think he gets out coached. Yes, they should have ran the ball more in the second half against Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. But at least you were giving it to your MVP quarterback. It wasn't as if they had a backup running back in there trying to catch toss. Like, these random toss sweeps on 4th and 1. Like, you gave it to your guy. Your guy just ran into another team of guys that made plays against him. So, but I do feel like they will treat the offseason like the sky is falling. If they end up at 6-3, they probably have, what you said, like 3 more tough games left.
Yeah. Well, so I think,
and that Philly game might not be so tough at the end of the season. So, like I said, New England's success shouldn't be an indictment on Buffalo, especially if they split. If they split, they split.
Well, I think
But if New England gets them twice, then I think that's something you got to evaluate.
I think in this game, Buffalo's got some good news, bad news, because we'll see. I don't know if Dalton Kincaid's going to make it or not, go Utes, but they should have Josh Palmer back, saying, yeah, I think Clemson wins this game. I thought that was one of my upsets, but, so we'll see what happens. They're up at halftime last I looked. But, then we got Mr. Logical. This one is nasty. So we got a team that has lost 6 out of 7 against a team that has lost 3 out of their last 4. The funny part about this is the team that won 6 out or that lost 6 out of 7 got their 1 win against this team. Cincinnati is going into Pittsburgh. I have no idea week to week what we're going to see out of the Steelers. And that's always hard to say because the Steelers are one of those teams that generally always have an identity, and we know very clearly what that is.
They've had the same uniform for years, so you think consistency.
Yeah, and I have no idea.
Gary Bradshaw played in that jersey.
But I don't know why I'm about to say what I'm about to say, but I'm about to say what I'm about to say. I think Cincinnati's going to beat them again.
Oh, man, nah.
And good news for Cincinnati, though. Joe Burrow's practice window is back open. So, we might see him. Thank you, sir.
Might see him at practice.
Appreciate you.
Throwing the ball around.
But I think that
appreciate it, sir.
At the end of the day, I think that Pittsburgh is just a mess right now, and they can't get out of their own way. We talked about Aaron Rodgers the other day when I made the comment about take one for the team. Saying he should have more time against Cincinnati. He shouldn't have to take one for the team. The problem is, even if Aaron Rodgers plays his best game of the season, for the first time in my life, I can't trust the Steelers defense.
That is
weird. Time in my life.
That is weird. That's a weird position to be in. I have no reason to trust the Bengals. That's it.
Oh, it's just like that. That's it.
It's just that simple. It's like I can't be like, oh, yeah, they lost 6 out of 7, but they're really joined as a unit. That's not true. Offense beefing with the defense in public. They're stable at quarterback. Not true. Dude's my age. Their coach is cemented in his position. He's not on a hot seat. He's going to coach free. Not true. The team makes quality moves generally throughout the year. Not true. They block well. Not true.
Hey, all that you're saying right now applies to the Steelers too, except for the calling out each other part.
At the calling out each other part, I think the coach is more stable. I think they have defensive playmakers on the Steelers who, if you miss an assignment on a Jalen Ramsey blitz, he could wreck your game plan. If you don't slide help to the right side of the offensive line, TJ Watt, who's 1 sack away from tying his brother, I believe, can wreck your game. I think the way it's something about Pittsburgh, just like I think they get in their own way during the game. But Cincinnati, you have 2 bad opening drives, 6 plays and a punt, 7 plays and a punt, and Pittsburgh turns that into 10 points. You can see helmet slamming on the sideline.
Maybe, but
Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati could fall apart publicly down 10-0, 3 minutes left in the first. Whereas I think Pittsburgh, Aaron was have like a little mood. Tomlin's going to be stoic. I think the defense has leaders that they trust. And then we've seen the tape. I mean, I don't want to call out Shamar Stewart.
Go home, bro.
That's how we look in Virginia. There's not a lot of emotion.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Stewart is getting tossed around, so that's on film. So at a minimum, it's like if it's 3rd and 3 and you want to pass it, but it's like Stewart's lined up in that gap by himself. I think we can toss him off this spot. Like you just find the week. Like I said, once again, I use my kids' football game. They were playing a really good team, 17th ranked team in the state. They had a corner out there. He had a cast on, so it was like wrapped. He had like a real cast. So it was like wrapped. So he literally couldn't. His hands, everything was all. So he just had a club and a free hand. I'm like, yo, I'm not trying to target a kid, but he's out there. Granted, he's a baller if he's out there with a cast on. I know kids who won't go out there with a sprained ankle. But he can't. The likelihood of him catching a pick on a go ball very low. Take a shot. Like that's a weakness on this 11-man front. 2 guys are getting recruited to Temple. Another guy's getting recruited to D1 on the linebacker core. The corner wasn't. All that's just good over here. He wasn't, and he was playing with one hand. Go at him. I think Steelers gonna be like 97's lined up over here. There's no help. They look like they're gonna blitz. Let's slide this way. Put a bunch of people in front of him and just run the ball downhill right at him.
I never thought I would say these words, but I'm trusting Flacco over Rodgers. So give me Cincinnati.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. That's where we are. That's the state of the Steelers right now, But hey, down in Jacksonville, you got the Chargers making the long trip across the country. You remember a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Jacksonville, turnover. In their first 5 games, they forced 14 turnovers, and they've had 3 since then. They forced 3 since then. I wonder what their psyche is like coming off that loss to Houston last week, giving up 26 points in the 4th quarter. The only reason that I would pick Jacksonville, and let's be clear, I am not picking Jacksonville, but the only reason that I would pick Jacksonville is the cross-country trip. Playing on Sunday Night Football and then having to come across the country, physical game against the Steelers. We're going to see if Parker Washington can go. He's been hurt all week, but he is limited at practice. Same thing with Brian Thomas. Travis Hunter's out for the season now. So Jacksonville's going to have to establish the run. I don't think they can. And you talk about, I know you get mad sometimes because I talk about the offensive line and you're like, well, the quarterback need to get rid of the ball. Well, Trevor Lawrence ain't getting rid of the ball. So the Chargers going to be all up in his face. Give me the Chargers.
And I guess this is like a bit of an early season crossroads for Liam. 5-4. You got the big win at home over Kansas City, and then you had the collapse against Houston, all in the same season. Then you had the beef on the sideline with the 49ers. It's been an up and down emotional season for the first year coach. I don't know how he reacted to the 26 points in the 4th quarter.
Uh-huh.
If he went to if they took, so that was Sunday, they probably got back home sometime later that evening. I was like, you know what? Scrap it. He slept on it, woke up Monday, new game plan for the Chargers. They'll be good to go. I just have a feeling that a lot of film from last week is being replayed, and they're not going to get over it. And the Chargers are going to come in with that whole rested. They had a good game last week. They have an experienced coach. And I think they're gonna leave that game 8-3, and then Jacksonville's gonna be searching for answers.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville is just in a place right now where if they don't get turnovers, it's hard for them to generate points, and they don't keep drives going. So I think that's going to be the big issue. And then of course, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this one, but I'm just here to say, famous Jameis, my Seminole, is starting quarterback for the Giants this week. The only problem is he gonna have Micah Parsons on top of him. So, Green Bay still concerns me because the running game just isn't up to par. So, Josh Jacobs, I'm counting on you. You're playing against the Giants. This should be your first 100-yard game of the season, which is odd to say, for a guy that has won rushing titles and things like that. But I think Green Bay gets back on track this week. We'll see what Mike Kafka has planned out offensively. But, without Scatterbo, it's hard to trust the Giants going forward to be competitive with most teams, especially a team coming off this type of loss that they're coming off of on Monday Night Football. You know, people starting to question LaFleur like we talked about the other day. I think Green Bay.
You got a video since you right.
Yeah, I think Green Bay gonna put something on them.
Oh man,
you gambling for real? We'll get into that in a second, but you gambling for real? Yeah.
You might need an intervention. You betting on Cleveland? Yeah. So the thing with the Giants is that they weren't supposed to beat the Chargers, and they did. They weren't supposed to be up on the Broncos, but they were. I think people are looking at that moment as like that's when the season ended for the Giants. That interception, that ended it all. That interception, losing that game was like, that was the moment where you're like, you know what? We're back to the drawing board. But I saw a quote today, and I hope it's fake, but it sounds real. It's like Jameis Winston says something like, they gave me the keys to the organization. I'm going to drive the car like I stole it.
That does sound like a Jameis quote.
I think Jameis could literally have a game where he goes, 27 for 38, 3 touchdowns and 4 picks. I mean, like he could just have one of those games where a guy who normally doesn't get the ball, Jameis is like, well, he was open, he was down there, so I threw it and he caught it.
Come on over here, Jalen Hyatt.
So excuse me. So I think it could be one of those moments. But Matt LaFleur, if he's a coach worth anything, he'll make sure like those guys are ready. And there's no real weapon on the Giants. You can just stick to your keys, stick to your assignments. I think they'll win games. But like I said, I think Jameis he'll get a couple of drives, a couple of 8-9 play drives in where he's just making plays and the Giants will get 14, 17 points. But it won't be close.
Yeah. So I don't know what to expect down in the compressor because I got one team that beat the Buffalo Bills. You know what I mean? And then they turned around and done whatever since. You know, I got a team that beat this team 30-0. They beat the Packers. And then they lost to the Saints last week. You know, so Carolina. Hey, actually, let me back up for a second. Darnell Mooney broke his collarbone in training camp.
Did he?
Yes. Like, so,
he started the first game.
He's been hurt. And then, they talked to Raheem this week, and he came out and said that he hurt his collarbone. He broke his collarbone in preseason. So I don't know how that works. You know what I mean? First of all,
I saw a stat that he ran 1,200 yards and only had 2 fantasy points. Like they tracked his routes, in motion, deep routes, whatever. 1,200 yards. I had 2 fantasy points. That's just pure cardio.
Yeah.
The Panthers, Falcons. Like I could harp on the Falcons all day. The biggest issue is that the game last week, defense played great. They got after Daniel Jones. He was literally bleeding, still making plays. It would have looked cooler if it didn't look like lipstick. Like, cause like when he was bleeding, like that'd be a cool picture, but it was like perfectly red. Like if he just would like wiped his mouth, then it would have been like on his face while he was calling the cadence. It would have looked like more like Rambo.
Yeah.
But in the alternative, it looked like Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything. Look that up for you young heads. But yeah, it looked like lipstick. But they literally were like they were literally beating him up. And they're gonna come out this week based on what I've seen this year and not get the Bryce Young at all. That is my problem with Atlanta. They scored 34 points against the Commanders. They damn near have 28 points in the first half against Buffalo and only can muster 3 points in the second half. Like you're almost up 28-7 going into halftime with whatever game plan you had going on, and you come out the second half and only get 3 points. That's the problem with Atlanta. And that's why it's hard to pick them. This week, I'm going to just go back to fandom. I'm drinking out of my Atlanta glass here, so I'm going to pick them. But it literally wouldn't surprise me if Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. have been getting to the quarterback. Last week, I think they both had a sack and a forced fumble. And this week, they'll have a completely different scheme that won't have either one of them rushing the passer.
So, how many? This is a weird question.
Excuse me.
How many times this season do you reckon Bryce Young has passed for 200 yards?
They are. Let me check their record real quick. Let's see how many games they actually played. So they've played 10 games. I think he missed one game, so it gives him 9 games. So 200 yards, 200 plus.
Just 200.
The over of 200.5 or 199.5. 4.
1.
Jesus Christ.
Give me the Falcons.
The Atlanta game. Was it the Atlanta game?
I don't think it was the Atlanta game, but it was the Miami game, I want to say. But give me the Falcons. Carolina theoretically should be able to run the ball, but I refuse to believe that Bijan isn't going to get loose one of these weeks.
The problem is, and it's like I said, if you can watch the game, like I don't think it'll be in your region, but I'll just send you a video. I'm gonna call out the formation in the commercial break.
Hey, just
then I'm gonna film the play, and I'm gonna film the play. Like I'm gonna call it out when we're back from commercial break. I'm like, all right, pistol, stretch play to Bijan to the right. Boop. And that's what they're gonna do. I could probably do it literally. Any situation, third down, if they and even other Falcons fans know, so like they put the fullback who's a tight end in motion with 4 seconds left on the play clock. So he gets from one end, and then he's gonna get to here. The ball's gonna get snapped with 2 seconds left on the play clock, and he's gonna try to wham block the defensive lineman. Every time they just fill that gap, and then Bijan stopped because they run the same stretch play to the right.
I don't know if I would say Atlanta's overrated, but I will say that if for all you bettors out there that love streaks, Carolina has won 3 out of their last 5 down in Atlanta. The hardest game of the week for me to pick, Chicago at Minnesota. Obviously we go back to week 1, Monday Night Football. J.J. McCarthy was a no-show for about 3.5 quarters, and then all of a sudden, he went destruction mode on the Bears in the 4th quarter. The Bears, they coming with it, man. But the problem for the Bears right now, they lost that game to Minnesota. They lost another one to Detroit. They are 0-2 in the division, so the Bears need this game. Minnesota, on the other hand, somehow 2-0 in the division with wins over Chicago and Detroit. So, Mr. Logical.
Yeah. This division doesn't make any sense, but they're winning. Like the losing doesn't make any sense in the NFC South. The winning doesn't make any sense in Chicago, in like the NFC North. It's like, what's going on here? Like it just, I don't know. I think it's just, I don't know if it's just consistencies or if it's just styles make fights, and they just have just certain matchups that they can't win.
But it's weird because we were talking about Duke the other day. They're 5-4 overall, but they're 4-1 in the ACC. Minnesota's 4-5, but they're 2-0 in the division.
Yeah, give me Chicago. I'm gonna take Chicago. I'm gonna just take Chicago because it's hard to beat your division opponent twice in 1 year. I think JJ is still figuring out. Literally, like I said, I think it's like his 4th or 5th game he started, so he's still figuring it out. I think Caleb has gotten a vote of confidence from Ben Johnson that I don't think we've seen since his time with Lincoln Riley.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. You see it in like the post game press, the post game, the game ball, stuff like that. So I like what Chicago's doing. I like their playmaking ability, and I like how they're deliberately attacking. I know I was up and down with Caleb because he had the good game against Dallas, but guys were just wide open. But the 2 touchdown runs he had last week is like, okay, he's figuring it out. I'm talented. I can do this. I can trust my team. And when it's time for me to make the play, I'm just gonna make the play. I think last year was like, I got to throw it to make the play, or I got to do this, or I got to make the big play. I think now it's like scramble, go mode, let's get it. So yeah, I got Chicago. Looks like we have some technical difficulties. Mike should be back in a second. Much just stress the Atlanta quarterbacks overrated.
Look like we having some technical difficulties here, but
Munchie, real quick.
I'm going to take
quarterback's not overrated. He's not overrated.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Vikings in this game. You know, I think that Chicago is in that stage where we're gonna find out how they handle prosperity. I think that Brian Flores is gonna have Caleb Williams running in circles. You know, Ben Johnson calling one too many trick plays that just won't work. So I'm going to take the Vikings in a close game, 3-point game, something along the lines of 27-24. So as we go from there, you know, we go to Arizona, out to the desert. Brock Purdy is back. It looks like Ricky Pearsall is probably going to be back. So the 49ers slowly but surely getting guys back into the fold. Now, the Cardinals, you know, they've been up and down most of the year, mostly down when you look at their record, but they've been in a lot of games. They just haven't been able to finish the job. Last week, they got absolutely waxed up and down the field in Seattle. You know, Jacoby Brissett starting again. You know, Kyler Murray's on IR. No Marvin Harrison. He had the appendectomy this week. I don't know how the Cardinals are going to generate points. You know, it's that simple. You know, Robert Saleh has the 49ers defense playing well. Ignore what happened against the Rams last week, but for the most of the season, they've been playing well. I don't think the Cardinals are going to generate enough points to put a scare into them, so give me the Niners. Over in Madrid, the first NFL game ever in Spain. These here Washington Commanders going over to play the Miami Dolphins. This is going to be a sick game early in the morning. The only people that are going to be watching it are sickos like me that cheer for one of these two sorry teams. But I'll be watching. You know, so look, Tua Tagovailoa has been playing a lot better over the last couple of games. You know, he had the opening pick against Buffalo last week, you know, but that's just how it goes, I guess. But, you know, Washington's secondary is not going to put up any resistance. You know, and I think that at this stage, I think that Washington's season is over. Obviously, Dan Quinn is going to be taking over the defense. So they're already in trouble. Mr. Logical's back. We got some technical difficulties. But Washington, just to go back, I picked the 49ers over the Cardinals. You know, no Marvin Harrison, you know, and all that. So I don't see how they generate points. But
I agree with you.
So Washington, you know, is going to have to establish the run, which they should be able to against Miami. So I think that Washington will keep it close. I think that Miami will turn the ball over a few times. And in these games, of course, the first question is, what is the field going to be like? Because, you know, we've seen these games in Brazil, you know, where the field has been kind of, you know, I would like to think that Spain has a little bit better field, you know what I mean? But I think that Washington gets off the mat for about a half, and then eventually the attrition kicks in. And I think that Devin Achane takes over in the second half. You know, give me Miami by 2 scores.
2 scores is a lot. I'll take Miami just because they're whole. I thought they were falling apart, but like I said, you get the ball to the speed guys. Tua looks like a great quarterback when he gets the ball to guys who are really, really fast. Quickly.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You know, yeah, we're live right now. You know what I'm saying? But then we got the Titans coming off the bye. You know what I mean? Against the Texans. You know, hopefully they have CJ Stroud back. I was feeling real froggy. I was wanting to pick an upset, but I ain't going to do it. So the Texans, Mr. Logical, for all their faults, how this season started, they're only a game out of the playoff race right now. You know what I mean? So they could be the beneficiary going back to Kansas City. If Kansas City loses to Denver this weekend, Houston could be the beneficiary of that loss.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of teams that people thought were better. They're going to be in that 5 to 8 range fighting for it.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, what the NFL wanted with these 17 games is going to just muck it up a little bit. But yeah, Houston, they should handle the Titans. The Titans have probably had the most underwhelming NFL season I could ever think of. Because even a team with the number one quarterback, they put him on TV a lot. And it looks exciting. Like the number one quarterback just kind of does it for him. Chicago lost a lot of games, looked exciting. Jacksonville looked exciting. The Titans they fired their coach. They didn't even let the coach finish the year. So it's just they have a weird problem in Nashville. So yeah, it'll continue through this weekend.
Yeah, so Cam Ward, they're coming off the bye, so hopefully they've been able to work out some kinks in their offense.
They didn't do it from training camp?
No, they didn't do it from training camp. You know what I mean? With the offensive coach that they had, but Houston's got too much on the defensive side. I don't know. Last time they played, it was 26-0. So I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think Tennessee will fight, but I'm going to take the Texans.
Like we're 10 games into the season. It's a lot of guys are like, this team's going nowhere. I got to worry about next year. My hamstrings tight. I'm coming out.
And then Munchie said he was going to put some money on the Browns. I'm not joining. You know what I mean? The Ravens. Can the Browns get to 17 points in this game is my question. Baltimore's defense has been playing a lot better, but we have to take into account the opponents that they've been playing during this stretch. You know what I mean? The other part of that is the Browns probably aren't as good on offense as any of these teams that Baltimore has shut down. Gabriel,
the Jets game last week, the Jets still don't have an interception.
I don't know if Dylan Gabriel finishes this game. Not from the standpoint that he gets knocked out, but just from the standpoint of how long can you watch.
Bailey Zappi's going in.
Well, he might, but it ain't gonna. I don't know if it's gonna be Dylan Gabriel.
Gabriel's going in because Stefanski can't afford to pull the guy that he kept shoving down the fan base's throat as the second best or the best rookie of when they had like 6 quarterbacks in at one point. They had Flacco, Pickett, him, Shador, Zappi, and Huntley. They still had him rated as second team or third team. He was getting more first team reps. So this entire calendar year since they've drafted him and Shador, they have treated him like he was the more ready blue chip product rookie. He can't take him out of the game no matter how bad he's playing. I think he knows he's done in Cleveland because you can't. I'm not saying Shador is ready, but I have a feeling that in the clean pocket, Shador is going to have a little bit more velocity on his passes. Shador is going to be able to get on the edge a little quicker and make plays. Dylan Gabriel he's a good quarterback. He's a college football quarterback playing on the NFL team.
Dylan Gabriel is the type of quarterback that you would want running a camp. You know what I mean? To teach quarterback fundamentals and, how to maneuver in the pocket, how to avoid the rush and things along those lines. Like, he's that kind of quarterback. I don't think you want him leading your team.
You want him as your quarterback coach of your team, not the quarterback you have to coach.
Right. And quick update, we got Louisville is in the end zone. So 11 minutes left to go in the third quarter, 16-10 Cardinal. Oregon in Minnesota is underway on Fox. Last I checked, it was 14-0 Oregon already with 7 minutes left in the first quarter. So, I think that it's getting cold outside. And that means that Derrick Henry's about to light up, warm up that Ravens offense. And I don't think the Ravens need to score a lot to beat Cleveland this weekend. So I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I think it's going to be a closer game, division game. Cleveland's been fighting this year. I'll give them that. They beat Green Bay.
Yeah.
They've been losing some close games, but
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
it was.
That was a long.
That was
Like
a
I said,
different quarterback too.
We talk about the coworker. If you work in the building and you have a coworker that's coming up short week in and week out, but yet every 2 weeks they are still there getting paid more than you or getting more face time with the leadership more than you. Yeah, Shador doesn't need his daddy to protect him. I don't know why people think it's a bad thing that his successful father coached him from high school through college, and then he went to Division I school and he played well. Shador is a good quarterback. No one's saying he's going to be the best quarterback in the world, but I guarantee you, Cam Ward isn't doing much more than what Shador could do. He's not doing much more than Dylan Gabriel's doing. So all the quarterbacks that got drafted last year, when you look at what was available, there was no way he was 3 or 4 rounds worse than those guys. That's just it. Just you can look at their college production. You can look at the basic processing of how they played on the field. He's a good quarterback. There's no way he is this far behind Dylan Gabriel. And that's all we're saying. Is I'm not saying you should put him in. I think he should never been on the team. I don't know why they would put him on the team. It just doesn't seem smart to have a guy that polarizing behind a guy you drafted who has limitations. That's the whole problem with the Shador, Dylan Gabriel, Cleveland thing. Because now I think people in the locker room like Shador. I think the community likes Shador. He's a likable guy. He came from a likable parent. Dion is a really good, marketable person. It's just a bad thing that they have going on in Cleveland, and they ego won't allow them to fix it. And Baltimore is going to pick off those little passes that he's floating.
Yeah, so we'll see. But of course, Monday Night Football. So all this time, Mr. Logical, I think we've been talking about the wrong coach. We've been asking all year, is Aaron Glenn going to be gone at the end of the year? Maybe we should have been asking about Pete Carroll. The Raiders sitting here at 31st in scoring, 30th in total yards. They got the Cowboys coming in. They're not going to be able to keep up with the score. But the problem is Dallas is 1-4 on the road this year. So is there any chance, is there any world that the Raiders win this game on Monday night?
The Raiders are a poorly coached, poorly managed franchise, and they have been for years. Any Raiders fans can holler at me. I'm going to give you a prime example. Geno Smith hurt his quad. You have a fully capable backup quarterback that started multiple games in the NFL, standing there with his helmet on. You're within a possession in a division game, and you keep trotting out a guy out there who's limping. 3 possessions they did that. 3 crucial possessions where the Raiders got the ball back on defense. Denver was not playing well, and they kept sending limping ass Geno from the exercise bike onto the field. When you have, I see if you had a guy who never had any action, your backup was a rookie out of Liberty, and he's never had any action in the NFL because your actual backup got injured that week. And you're no, we can't go to a guy who's never seen a cover 3 defense from Sean Payton. Kenny Pickett has. Kenny Pickett could have gone out there and got you the points you needed to help you win that game. But yet for 3 possessions in a row, they sent Geno back out there. Clearly limited. Clearly. And it was cool. We'll let you run this ball 1st and 2nd down. And now it's 3rd and 8. We're going to send the house. And he couldn't get away.
Yeah, so I think Dak Prescott is going to light up the Raiders. The only hope that they have is that Max Crosby can do a Myles Garrett impersonation.
And they still lost that game.
Myles
Garrett had 5 sacks because the quarterback play is so inept. It's going to be the same thing for the Raiders. Pete Carroll should never got hired. I don't know why they thought that was a good hire.
Well,
he should never got hired.
Well, I don't know. I think that
Ashton said that when he got hired.
I think Ashton Genty should be able to get yards against Dallas. I just don't know what's Geno's status. First of all, he's going to play, but how healthy is he coming off of what you were just talking about? I think the Cowboys win, but hey, playoff record is a team thing. I don't know what to say. Like, I've seen Dak put up 31 points in the playoff game, and Dallas lost.
Contract, The year that Atlanta went to the Super Bowl is because they let Aaron Rodgers march down the field, something he never does in the playoffs.
Yeah, and don't forget, one of those playoff games that Dak lost, Aaron Rodgers hit that improbable pass.
Rolling to the left. The Jared Cook. We got both.
Skip Bayless started calling Mason Crosby Mason Crossbar.
Yeah, and he crushed it.
Yeah.
So, I like Dallas in this game. Dak's contract, if he was up for a new one, then the contract would matter. But since it's locked in, that's just bad business by Jerry. Jerry could have done it better. He, like I said, he let his desire to win the deal, like his buddy in Washington, the art of the deal. But it's a bad move. But they'll beat the Raiders because the Raiders made more bad moves the Raiders been making bad moves forever. And I think they're like Dallas West.
Yeah.
Because they're some teams that are family run seem to have it figured out, like a family business. We're going to get people in here who know how to run the business. We're just going to make sure we keep the business in the family. You can run it. We'll hire people who aren't our last name to make decisions on player personnel. We'll hire people who don't have our last name to be the coaches. But as far as the people who run the team, they will be of our bloodline. The Rooneys, the Maras, even the Woody Johnson and the Jets, they're terrible, but that's because he gets in the way. Jerry Jones gets in the way. Mark Davis gets in the way. Lamar Hunt doesn't get in the way. 7 AFC championship games and 5 Super Bowl appearances.
So we'll see. But Dallas has a tough road to hoe. You know what I mean? Because they got Philly next week. They get Kansas City on Thanksgiving. Of course, that'll be a short week. Then they go to Detroit. They host Minnesota, host the Chargers, and then they get the 2 breathers with the Giants and Washington to close out the season. So, it's going to be tough sledding here for the Cowboys over the next few weeks. But, of course, it's that time of the week. It's time for Upset Alert. Here we go. Now, look, this is one of those slates where all the big games are in one area of the country, so I apologize, but we're going to get right to it. So give me Arkansas plus 5.5 at LSU. We'll see if LSU, how hapless they are. Arkansas can score on anybody except for Notre Dame. Give me Tulsa on the money line against Oregon State. I want the over in Memphis and East Carolina. That's at 58.5. I want the over on Maryland at Illinois. That's 53.5. Give me North Carolina plus 6.5 at Wake Forest. And I want the under 38.5 in that game. Give me TCU plus 4.5 at BYU. I think BYU wins, but I think it gets a little hairy. Give me Wyoming on the money line at Fresno State. Give me Arizona on the money line at Cincinnati. And then we're going to get right back to it, Mr. Logical. We're going to get right back to it. Because this week is revenge week. Last year, Florida, DJ Lagway had one of those coming out parties, and they knocked Ole Miss out of the playoffs, basically. Now they got to go down to the Grove. Last year on a Saturday night, I came on here and I said, Oklahoma's going to upset Alabama. And what did Oklahoma do? They bitch slapped them all over Gaylord Memorial Stadium. Then we had a long argument about should Sark have put in Arch Manning against Georgia last year. He did, and then Arch got ate up. And then guess what?
Right.
Texas has been in the SEC. This is their second year in the SEC, right? Their SEC record is 11-3 since they joined the conference. 2 of those 3 losses to Georgia. And now they're going to Georgia this weekend. So it's revenge all over the place. So let's get right to it. Here we go. I'm sorry. I didn't believe in LSU this year. I had them 8-4. I'm sorry. And they might not even go 8-4. But you know what I'm saying? So here we go. We got Texas going into Athens. You know, we talked about it just now. You know how basically Georgia has owned Texas so far as Texas came into the SEC. Gunnar Stockton had to take over in the second half after Quinn Ewers got hurt in the SEC title game. No problem. So, Mr. Logic, with all the ups and downs that Texas has had this year, do they have a fighting chance to win this game tomorrow?
Say a fighting chance just because it's 5 versus 10. You can't, you're the 10th ranked team in the country. They haven't played like the greatest, consecutive football games. They've been playing good football. I know we counted Arch Manning out after early on his struggles against Ohio State, even in their win, struggling. Like I said, I didn't like how he was flexing on old boy. Like, listen, you weren't flexing against Ohio State. Don't flex against like Louisiana, Monroe, whoever the hell they were playing. But I think Georgia they have more championship pedigree in their coaching staff. I think their quarterback under the radar plays a little bit better than Arch. I'm not sure about Sark in crunch time. I don't know. I can't recall a big game where they were seemingly the underdogs and he really coached them over the edge of success. It just feels like he just has Texas. He has the team. He has the facilities. He has the heritage. And like they just go out there and they play football games. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like he puts them in a position to win because I feel right now they're at a disadvantage. I think the quarterback plays a disadvantage. I think the experience level is a disadvantage. I think the playmakers are a disadvantage. So ultimately, I believe this is a game where he's going to have to coach, play call for his life. And I don't recall that happening. I can't recall like those kind of moments where, definitively like, oh, Sark put together a game plan that foiled this other better team's game plan.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the aficionado. So like you can tell me like, hey, well, he did this here. But I don't recall it recently.
Well, you know what I'm about to tell you? I'm about to tell you that you're absolutely right.
Oh, look at that.
So in the last 2 years, Texas has made the semifinals. The first year they lost to Michael Penix in Washington. Last year they lost the game to Ohio State. But before that, my name for Sark was 8-win Sark. You know what I mean? Because if you go back through his career, you know what I mean? They're they went 13-3 last year, 12-2 the year before that. He's only won 9 games once besides those 2 years since he's been a head coach. So you're right. He doesn't tend to do that. Now with that being said, this game, the first rushing offense in the nation the rushing defense against the fourth rushing defense in the nation. So yards are going to be hard to come by. I think this game is going to come down to which quarterback can get loose. Which quarterback can take over the game with their legs. I came into this year with a lot of criticism from Gunnar Stockton, and he's grown up this season. You know what I mean? To whereas when I have to ask myself, who do I trust more in the clutch? Would it be him or would it be Arch? It would be him. And, oh, by the way, he's at home. Now, when I look at Texas on the road this year, week 1, no harm. You went up to Columbus, lost by a touchdown, no harm.
Yeah, but touchdown losing 35-28 versus a touchdown 14-7, that's different.
No, 100%. But since then, they lost at the Swamp to a team that fired their coach. They went to overtime at Mississippi State. They went to overtime at Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like, these are not the things of a team that you're looking at and saying, I got confidence in you going between the hedges and coming out with a win.
Yeah.
So so now Georgia, luckily for Texas, luckily Georgia hasn't been necessarily after the quarterback as much. Like as we known them to be after the quarterback. I've
Yeah.
been voicing concern about their secondary all season. The problem is that Texas doesn't have the ability to hurt Georgia in the way that Georgia can be hurt. Because you remember the Tennessee game, Georgia gets hurt over the top.
Yeah. It was
You
people
know,
just completely out of position.
Texas doesn't have that vertical threat to apply that pressure to Georgia's defense. So they're going to have to go back and forth and try to dink and dunk up their way down the field. So, that's going to be tough sledding. That's going to be tough sledding.
Liquid death, dead billionaires.
So
Get yourself a liquid death.
So the good news is that Texas's defense might be better than Georgia's this year. So I'm gonna give Texas a punching chance on the scoreboard, but I think it goes along with the Ohio State game. It was 14-7, but you weren't ever worried.
Yeah, you never worried that they were going to win at 17-14.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's what's going to happen in this game. I think that's what's going to happen in this game. I think that we're going to look at this game. It might finish, say, 16-13, and we're going to go, how is a 3-point game that dominant?
I think Georgia's gonna
put the mollywop on them.
Yeah, I think they're gonna put the mollywop on them.
Okay.
Because if you like you say, you ran down the loss to Florida in the overtime to Mississippi State. Texas has the talent. But overtime normally it was like a scramble. They had to come back to make overtime against Mississippi State. All the Mississippi State fans thought they were going to win. Like the guy from Barstool ran down the sideline. It was all crazy.
Yeah, Brandon Walker.
Georgia's not letting that happen. Georgia's simply not letting that happen. On the road, neutral site, maybe. How I love those games. But at home, between the hedges, Texas, essentially Arch Manning, the young quarterback. I know he's 21 years old, but for the most part, he's a young quarterback. Yeah. I think Georgia does their normal dominant. We're a top 5 team, big game, Kirby Smart. Yeah. Let's put it on them.
Yeah. And remember, they had the nation's longest home winning streak until Alabama came in there a couple of weeks ago. So speaking of Alabama, saying we are not going to Gaylord Memorial Stadium. This game is going to happen down in Tuscaloosa. The Oklahoma Sooners are coming in. Oklahoma trying to fight to keep their playoff hopes alive. Alabama trying to stay on track to make the SEC championship game. John Mateer, a lot of people want to blame the thumb because he had the surgery. No, he just hasn't been that good since the SEC play started. And that makes sense, right? The step up in competition. Yeah. The good news for Oklahoma, for me, is that I think they match up well with Bama because Bama can't run the ball. You know what I mean? So that's going to be the key to this game. Can Bama keep Oklahoma honest by at least trying to run the ball? And at least, even if it's not effective, just keep them guessing of what's coming. Last year in that game that we were talking about, they held Alabama 30 rushes for 70 yards. Now, granted, Jalen Milroe was 15 of those rushes, and he got 7 yards. So he's gone now. Yeah. So Ty Simpson should be able to handle Oklahoma. Earlier this year, we were talking about how Oklahoma can't run the ball. But Xavier Robinson has come along the last couple of weeks. So I think this is going to be another muddy game. It's going to be close, but I think Alabama's going to pull it out in the end.
I think this is going to be a carbon copy of the Texas-Georgia game because you have two teams. We talk about these rankings all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of these rankings are to facilitate ensuring that certain teams get this level victory, top 15 victory, top 10 victories. I think Oklahoma, with an injured quarterback, is no way they're the 11th best team in the country. I think Texas, with the losses and the way they played against, granted, they're wins, but this is an NFL where talent is equal. This isn't like public high school where talent is equal, and it's like you might have one or more dynamic players, but like This is college football where the talent imbalance it's palpable. Like you can clearly see it. They just give these teams these rankings so that the other teams can beat them and have these wins on their resume. I think Bama handles Oklahoma very much like I think Georgia's going to handle Texas. It won't be close. The Texas and Oklahoma quarterback stat line will look like 17 for 28 plus pass attempts, 170 yards, 200 yards, maybe one touchdown, 2 or 3 picks.
Okay.
I think each game is going to look like that because we can look at last year, but the talent overhaul, the talent differential, Alabama doesn't retool. They just reload. And they just send a whole new wave of top tier talent at you that they got from high school, prep school, JUCO, and other colleges, along with all the guys they recruited. The guys are already there. Yeah. Oklahoma does the same thing, but they don't do it to the same wave as Bama does. Because Oklahoma right now is the type of school where if you're good last year, you're going to transfer out to one of these other top tier schools.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking this is gonna be, like I said, I don't want to say like blowout, like 34-7, but it's gonna be one of those games where it might look close, and then Bama's gonna come out. Ryan Williams is gonna run a go route, touchdown. Oklahoma's defense is just gonna be decimated. Offense goes back on the field, turnover. It's gonna be one of those games where it rains, it pours.
Okay. So then, of course, up in the great state of, or I should say, I'm sorry, no disrespect, the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are coming through to play Pitt. We talked about this the other day. Pat Narduzzi saying that this is not a must-win game. It's probably not because they could still win the ACC, but you just don't say those things. So
yeah, I don't like that phraseology either, especially when you're at home. Like, even if you don't say it's a must-win, you can say it's not a must-win for our conference standings.
Especially when it's Notre Dame. It's not like
we defend home field, blah, 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 blah. All those galvanizing phrases and speeches and all those lines, all those. You don't just say, nope, I don't care if we lose this game. That's a weird thing to say. Like, some people go to the podium and just talk too damn much.
Is that a Jedi trick that he's doing?
No, I think it's just some other dumb shit that he says. He only says dumb stuff. He only says dumb. Like, and it pisses me off. It's like, dog, stop bitching. Just fucking coach.
Yeah. So Jeremiah Love, the last 3 games, averaging 8.5 yards per carry. He would be getting some Heisman love if people didn't love quarterbacks so much. The good news for Pitt is that they have the number 1 defense in the country as far as yards per carry goes. All right. Braylon Lovelace, get used to the name. Rasheem Biles, get used to the name. Kyle Lewis, get used to the name. These guys are going to give Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price headaches. The good news for Notre Dame is C.J. Carr has come a long way from that opening night against Miami. The bad news is who the hell you beat, because when I look at Notre Dame's schedule, there's a whole lot to be desired as far as these teams that they've been beaten up on. So this is a step up in competition. Mason Heinchel, he didn't start the year as the starting quarterback. Eli Holstein benched. Pitt hasn't lost since they put him in the starting lineup. But he has fumbled the ball 4 times this year.
Yep.
So Mr. Logical. It's not a must-win, apparently. Notre Dame favored by 12.5. Can Pitt cover?
Pitt covers 31-21.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like him saying it's not, like, I understand. Like, I think the question is buns. I think every game when you're trying to win championships and you're in a top tier Power 5 conference, the question of it's a must win. They're all must wins. We want to win every single game if you can, especially if you already have a loss, because we know how when you're not in the SEC, if you have a loss, how that factors into the bowl game that you get. So you should go to the podium like, yo, every week we want to win. We don't care who comes in here, but we want to defend home field more than anything. Blah, 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 blah. Like, that's it. You don't need these sound bites and all this other obnoxious shit. I mean, Notre Dame's going to beat the brakes off of them, but at least act like you were confident. Because if you get beat bad enough or you get handled by Notre Dame, the film for what Notre Dame did to you is available to your future opponents. So if you go in there with this mindset that like winning is not, it's not an expectation, and then you put bad tape on film, then whoever you're playing next week is going to be like, all right, bet they can't stop this, or their coach isn't, does not have them ready for the moment.
Right. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Notre Dame. I think close. I think 30-24 sounds about right. But Mr. Logical, you know what my favorite game is, right? Guess that line. I got a line. I got a line for you.
All right.
So we got Georgia Tech going into Chestnut Hill to play Boston College. Bill O'Brien.
19.5.
16.5 is the line.
Okay.
16.5. So real quick, we'll go around the nation before we get out of here. Just a couple of notes. I wanted to take a moment to shout out Joe Fagnano. I thought it was Fagano this whole time, but it's Fagnano, quarterback at UConn. 25 touchdowns, no interceptions this season.
He's 25 years old.
So good job. I don't know how
he's been in college for 7 years.
So Missouri State, Missouri State, they're bowl eligible, and they're trying to fight the fight, to get the bowl game. But of course, Mr. Logical, they aren't eligible yet. So I hate that rule. Last thing, Michigan State. So a couple of months ago, we got on here. We had a conversation about Michigan and did the NCAA punish them too harshly? Was it too light? So on and so forth. So Michigan State is looking at this going, why us? Because they had recruiting violations. They didn't cheat. They didn't have a dude dress up and go on the other team's sideline and take pictures and sit in the crowd or any of this stuff. But
that's the most unnecessary cheating in this day and age. You can just watch the game on TV.
But this
is you get all these camera angles. It's so stupid.
But this is what Michigan State got from the NCAA. They got 3 years probation. They have to forfeit 14 wins. So theoretically, their head coach doesn't have any Big Ten wins right now. They have to pay $30,000 plus 1.5% of the program's football budget, which is $58.6 million. That's the budget. So 1.5% of that.
So $5.8 million.
So too harsh?
Absolutely.
Consider
the team in the same state have violations. They had a goddamn Netflix documentary about it. And the coaches, the players, the former coaches, ADs, everyone got to pick their punishment. It's like, I grew up in a pseudo strict household, right?
Yeah.
So my mom was going to whip my ass. She's going to whip my ass. But my cousins, they had to go pick a switch. And they're probably thinking like, yo, Ralph just gets a couple of hits with the belt and it's a wrap. I got to go out here and pick my demise, embarrass myself, come back with the wrong size one, and you just beat me in front of everybody. That's what Michigan's getting. Michigan State just get beat in front of everybody. Meanwhile, like, the sibling gets one quick hit. So yeah, I don't like it. The reason they didn't do it because Jim Harbaugh is a legacy coach. He's a legacy football player, and they didn't want to take his national championship away, which they should have based on everything they've ever done in the NCAA when it comes to these kind of violations.
And part of the justification by the NCAA was we don't want to punish the current players for what happened in the past, but that's exactly what you're doing.
That's what you did. You put them on probation. Like, at a minimum, you get to a bowl game, you get the Best Buy Monte Key Card Carrier Bowl, you might get a little swag bag. So now all the players on the team don't get to go play their bowl game somewhere in Tampa or California, some random place.
Michigan State wasn't going to make a bowl game anyway, but
maybe next year.
So they got so it was 3 violations of for 3 players that should have been ineligible. There was some unofficial visit expenses. They engaged in improper contact, which I've always thought was stupid anyway. But
like, yo, it's the rules. The rules made sense at the initial meeting when they came up with the rules because everybody at the table heard the rule for the first time. And they probably heard the rule before there was Instagram, text messages, and everything else. Now, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, my son's a junior. He was telling me last year, he was like, you can't talk to a college until, like, June of your, like, before you head into your junior year. It's like, what's the difference? Like, if you're good in 10th grade, let's talk to you. Most of the time, you're not even going to get that conversation isn't going to be like a thing. Because, like, most 10th graders don't play varsity to the point where they're getting recognized and followed by colleges anyway. So, like, having that rule in place doesn't make any sense. But I'm one of those people, like, I'm a stickler for, like, silly rules. And I think that's one of them. You should be able to contact the players. You just got to write up the expenses. You should give it a cap on, like, hey, this is how many visits you can have. Like, just keep it simple. Like, some of this stuff is like, you can't buy him a cheeseburger, but you can get him an NIL deal. I mean, like, so it's like, it's just weird, like the type of, like the hairs they split as if that's giving them the people the advantage. Like, the advantage is when you come to the campus, our locker room has 65-inch TVs with PS5s connected, all of them, and Toledo doesn't. Like, you keep acting like the money that somebody gets directly is like the thing that's swaying them. It's like, no. The $58 million budget. Well, that's going to win out.
Clemson is going for a 4th and goal here, from the 2. They're down 19-13, and they get stopped, and we got Oregon up 21-3 on Minnesota. Here's your stat. Total yards, 9 minutes left in the second quarter. Total yards, Oregon 248, Minnesota 43. So, right. All right, Mr. Logical, last one before we get out of here. One more. Tell me the line. So I got Indiana.
Okay.
Saying
Wisconsin.
The Hoosiers, playing against Indiana. Let's see. I think the game is in Indiana.
Wisconsin. Yeah, it's in Bloomington.
Yeah, what's the spread?
I think Wisconsin's like 3-6 and 1-5.
It's a flag on Louisville.
22.5.
29.5.
Jesus Christ. I get more credit than.
And then last one, same game. What's the over-under?
29.5 spread. So that means 52.5.
43.5.
What? I got them winning 30. I got 38 to 7, 38 to 6.
Something like that. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so unsportsmanlike on Louisville, so 1st and goal, Clemson again. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We will be back on Tuesday night with reaction, more college football playoff picks, maybe some Ja Morant talk because, he's still acting crazy down there in Tennessee.
Yeah, we got some NBA talk we got to get to. Looking at the Warriors, Spurs right now in the NBA Cup. 2-5's favorite floors. Yeah, it is aggressive. The San Antonio one is aggressive.
Well, speaking of San Antonio, how about Wemby and Stephon Castle with a triple-double in the same game? Craziness.
I'm happy that these young guys are really starting to really turn it on. Shout out to OKC for
Ace Bailey had his first 20-point game.
Getting back to the basics of building a basketball team.
Oh, here's one for you. Who is leading the Kia rookie ladder right now in the NBA? Good times, Muchie. Hope to see you again.
Yeah. Absolutely. Appreciate the engagement. Hell, I don't know. Who we got? Oh, Cole Knipple in Charlotte?
Con Knipple, yep.
Con Knipple.
Yeah. He's number one on the rookie ladder right now. I saw Jokic put up 55 the other night. You know,
Yeah, they said our plan was to let him score. We didn't think he was going to score 55.
You know, OKC with the back-to-back, you know, like I said, they beat the Warriors by 24, turned around the next night, beat the Lakers by 29. Draymond's calling out his teammates. There's a lot going on.
Yo, you see Draymond in the, I forgot what commercial it is, but he's still on the naughty list. It's like a bunch of celebrities, and it's like, you know what? You're on the good list. And Draymond's like, what about me? He's like, not this year, maybe next year.
Yeah. That's craziness. But we will be back. We love y'all so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things with a liquid death in your hand. He is the one and only world-renowned, world-famous, cool, calm, and collected. Born in Texas, raised in VA, representing New Jerusalem.
Shout out to Kirk Cousins.
And you know what I'm saying? He said, watch out for the New Jersey Devils. You know what I'm saying? He is Mr. Logical. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And then, of course, you know, down here in the Alamo, it's your unorthodox statistician going left so much you thought I was southpaw. Dodging and weaving. Manny Pacquiao ain't fast enough. I go by the name of 2-5. See y'all in a few days. Sports Reports is on.
Sports Reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time.